Greetings and well met. So you want to learn more about Victoria 3. Well, I don't have the time for a full lecture, but I do have a few minutes to talk to you about its basic levers and principles. So let's get started. Before we start talking about the levers that you're able to pull in Victoria 3, you first have to take accounting of your nation, its assets and its liabilities, what things can help and will hinder your progress. This includes taking an account of the natural resources available to your country, which pops you have, their qualifications, and how that can translate into a growing workforce. You also have to consider the status of your national market in the grander scheme of the world. Are you an importer of goods, an exporter? Are there barriers and other tariffs that you have to break through to access those goods on the world market? And then also you have to consider the IGs and the laws of your starting nation. Who is in power? And what obstacles might they put in your path to change your economy and your society to work the way you want it to? Knowing all this is important because knowledge of your domestic market is essential in Victoria 3. It is the arena where your actions have the most profound impact. Victoria 3 can often be described as a line-go-up simulator. This isn't strictly true, but as long as your GDP is growing, the opportunities of your nation grow as well. But as that GDP grows, and the wealth comes into your country, you have to start worrying more about where the wealth is going, to which pops. Because with that wealth, they gain political strength, and with that strength, they will seek change. But how do you make that line go up? It's simple. Stick to the basics. Before you go down gallivanting for railroads and the fanciest military hardware you can, why not feed your pops? The main driver of Victoria 3's internal economy is consumption. There are four main consumers that you need to be aware of. The government, which consumes goods to provide services to its people. The military, which consumes goods to provide protection to its people. Your industry, which consumes goods to provide more advanced goods to its people. And the people themselves, your pops, who at the start of game consume the most goods. The biggest bang for your buck in investment is to provide those services to your pops, as that is a market that is not going to disappear. They will always be there, and they will always need to eat. As a pop's wealth increases, they get a taste for the finer things in life, but they don't immediately switch. For example, they will switch out their homespun rags for those made solely in the textile industry. And as their wealth increases further, they will start switching that out for the luxury goods, silk, and all of its finery to show their class. The basic takeaway for any budding economist is this: there are some resources that are too essential to ignore, regardless of the grand plans you have for your society. You need to feed your people. You need to clothe your people. You'll need tools and lumber to build the basic buildings of life, or the advanced industry you intend to go for. And as well, you will need to provide at least the most basic services for your society. What goods and services you don't provide for your pops will only increase its demand and their call for it. And that call may motivate the AI to become its supplier and trade into your nation. To kickstart an industry, there must be profit. High prices signal that profit. For example, let's talk construction. High prices of timber is an inevitable result of starting a construction industry. But that money you spend on construction is a government expenditure, which is going to your pops in your lumber industry and has profound cascading effects to your economy. Those high prices mean that labor is now more valuable, and labor will move into that industry. As you expand that industry, you will still profit while prices go down because labor is there. And this is a great way to stimulate an early economy. Those pops who work in the lumber industry will then take that wealth and use it to buy goods and services from other pops, And if you can keep that mostly domestic, that money stays there. And every pound spent by construction is more than 1 pound of GDP benefit to your pops. Now, why high prices of timber may be good for a construction industry, it spells disaster for any goods that use it as an input, like your furniture factories, your paper mills. And so it's a balancing act between keeping lumber prices high enough that your resource industries can be fully employed and productive, but low enough that there's a profit to be made in manufacturing. As you start this manufacturing effort in your country, you want to replace these subsistence farms because they're inefficient. These secondary industries you set up, providing your basic services and needs, will eventually become the primary growth of your economic engine. Construction can only keep you going while there's money to spend. But eventually your furniture industries, your paper mills, will take on and buy more timber than your construction sectors, meaning your economy will continue to be powered and employment will be maintained. So what's your goal after you achieve the basics? To specialize. Take another accounting of your nation, look at its natural resources, what other nations are buying on the market, and become the provider of that good. So how do you determine your niche? It could be a good that you have an abundance of naturally, be it tea or tobacco or opium. It can be a good that you have a technological advantage for. You're the first ones to develop trains. That means you can sell locomotives to the rest of the market. Be careful of picking your niche in a good that's deemed frivolous by the other nations and their pops, or that you have a large amount of competitors for. Those risks are something you're going to have to overcome with more than just market power. Now, as you grow your industry, and you found your niche, and you push your economy more and more, you need to ask yourself the question, in which way will you grow? Horizontal growth is a valuable choice when you have a construction industry already set up, and you lack the technological progress to invest into production methods. If you have plenty of space and land, why not simply build more? And if you have pops who need jobs, well, this is the easiest way to accommodate them. The downside is there is a finite limit to horizontal growth. Unless you go conquering and expanding your market, there is only so much you can build. Vertical growth represents the use of technology through production methods to increase the marginal productivity of your farms and factories. This comes at the cost of increasing the complexity of the input chain for that building. New production methods require new resources. It can start as simple as tools and go as complex as engines and electricity. This will add to the complexity of your economy and what you need to provide to make it so. Not only do you need these new machines, but you need the skilled workers who can utilize them. You will need to educate your population so they can increase their qualifications and provide these new services for you. But be careful. With increased literacy and increased wealth comes political idea, and your pops might start making demands of you as well. Now, it's undeniably risky to put all your eggs in one basket, but it's equally risky to put all those eggs into separate baskets themselves. You need to find a middle ground, to have a main driver for your industry, but not have it be the only driver for your industry. How can this be achieved? Through the means of trade. Resources that you're not able to set up the industries for, or do not have the pops with the qualifications to provide, can be gotten from other national markets. Now be warned, as you make your economy more complex, as you add lines of trade across the map to both sell and provide you with resources you cannot get. Each part of this transaction, which is dependent upon an outside market, can be disrupted by means outside of your control. And this is a risk you need to balance. Victoria 3 is an incredibly complex simulation, but also an incredibly rewarding one. If you utilize the knowledge shared with you today and better understand the levers, how you can use them, and think dynamically, you can build a society that doesn't merely react to the world, but actively shapes it.